Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm bringing you another new episode in the story of Hoai Ca and Hung. But this time, it won't be a peaceful day. Right from the beginning of the video, I want everyone to brace themselves a little, because something unexpected and unfortunate has happened to Mother Ha, the woman who has always stayed quietly in the background, taking care of the house, the garden, and every single meal for Hoai Ca and Hung throughout all these years. Everything began on an afternoon that seemed completely ordinary. But sometimes, just one careless moment, one small incident, is enough to throw an entire family into chaos. What exactly happened? Who was involved? And how will Hoai Ca and Hung handle this sudden situation? Let's follow today's video all the way through to uncover the full story. And don't forget to leave a comment so I can hear how you feel about it. These past few days, Hoai Ca has been completely overwhelmed with the schedule of taking Tony to the city for his speech therapy classes. The little boy is slow to talk, and the doctor insisted he must attend regularly every week without interruption. So the two of them had no choice but to rent a tiny room near the therapy center, a simple space just big enough for a bed, a small table, and a few essentials. During the day, Hoai Ca takes Tony to class. At night, she stays up late cleaning, cooking, and preparing everything for the next morning. Despite the exhaustion, every time she sees Tony trying his best to pronounce each word, her heart warms again. Meanwhile, Hung is still buried in work nearly 130 kilometers away from home. His job is far, demanding, and full of long overnight shifts. Some weeks, he barely manages to rush home once before having to turn around and head straight back to his unit. He wants to help his wife, of course, but his work leaves him no choice but to endure and push through. Back in the mountain village, the only one left at home is Mother Ha, Hoai Ca's foster mother. She's a woman who has spent her entire life working tirelessly, used to taking care of everything on her own, the vegetable garden in front, the chicken coop behind the house, every pot and pan in the kitchen. Thanks to Mother Ha, Hoai Ca can focus on bringing Tony to the city for treatment without worrying about home. The village is usually peaceful. The only sounds are the wind brushing past the roof, the chickens at noon, and the neighbor's rice grinder. But recently, that atmosphere has started to change. People have been whispering about a few addicts lurking around the area, watching empty houses to steal from. And unfortunately, they've already noticed that Hoai Ca's house has only one elderly woman living alone. Mother Ha went to bed early, just like she had for years living in the mountain village. Right after the clock passed 9, she closed the door, turned off the lights, and lay down on the old mattress that had accompanied her for half her life. The house sank into darkness, with only the wind slipping through the cracks of the door, whistling sharply as bamboo outside clacked against each other. To a stranger, those sounds would be spine-chilling. But to her, someone who had spent a lifetime here, they were familiar, almost comforting. Every night was the same, a quiet forest, cold winds, and the gentle whispers of nature. Nothing to fear. Nothing to worry about. But tonight, something felt wrong. A strange uneasiness kept tugging at her sleep, making her constantly drift in and out instead of resting peacefully. Then, nearing midnight, in the suffocating silence, a faint click came from the kitchen. It was small, tiny even, but sharp, like a needle piercing straight into her ear, jolting her awake. Mother Ha frowned and strained to listen. She reassured herself quietly. Probably just a cat, or a weasel trying to sneak in for food. But only seconds later, the noise came again, this time louder, heavier. Footsteps. Objects shifting. Metal clanking together, as if someone was rummaging through her things. No animal could make those sounds. Her heartbeats suddenly quickened, each thump pounding violently against her chest. She inhaled deeply, trying to gather her courage, and slowly got up. Her feet touched the cold floor, making her flinch at the icy sting. Every step she took out of her bedroom felt unbearably heavy. And then, right at the doorway, she froze. Before her stood two tall silhouettes in the middle of the living room, their shadows stretching across the room, making the already dark space feel suffocating. Both wore black masks over their faces. And in the dim light, the only thing clearly visible were their eyes, bloodshot, wild, animal-like, the kind of eyes belonging to someone high on drugs. That alone sent a chilling, deathly coldness through her entire body. One of them growled, voice dry, violent, and threatening. "Shut up. You scream, you die." Just a single sentence, yet it drained every bit of strength from her body. Her legs went weak. Her whole body trembled, not from the cold, but from fear swallowing her whole. She didn't even get the chance to turn back, to run, to shout. They lunged at her. One grabbed her face, his coarse, foul-smelling hand clamping tightly over her mouth, muffling her cries into nothing but broken whimpers. The other shoved her to the ground, pulling her hands behind her back and tying them tightly with a nylon rope like she were a sack of grain. Within seconds, her mouth was sealed shut with tape, so tightly she could barely breathe. The cold floor seeped straight into her bones. Her shoulders ached sharply. Her entire body shook uncontrollably, helplessly. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She was old. What strength did she have left? Even trying to move was nearly impossible. Outside the room, the two men began tearing everything apart. Drawers were yanked open. The wooden chest was slammed, pried, thrown aside. They rummaged everywhere, like wild animals searching for prey. They took everything. Money, jewelry, electronics, anything of value, nothing was spared. When they were done, one crouched down, bringing his cold, soulless eyes inches from her face. His voice was a low, threatening snarl, each word striking like a blade. "You're old, stay quiet. If you call the cops, I'll come back and burn your house down." With that, they slipped out the back door. Their footsteps faded into the night. The house was a wreck, silence returning except for the howling wind seeping through the cracks. Mother Ha lay there, bound, gagged, curled on the freezing floor. She struggled, but her strength weakened with each passing minute. No one could hear her. No one knew she was lying there, alone. Time crawled painfully slow. Until near dawn, after hours of desperate attempts to free herself, her strength finally gave out. And at last, she blacked out on the ice-cold floor. Hoai Ca woke up very early. The sky was still covered in morning mist. Tony was rubbing his sleepy eyes, not fully awake yet, but she was already bustling around, preparing breakfast, packing clothes, getting the bag ready to take him to therapy like every other day. It had become a routine. Every morning before leaving the small rented room, she always called Mother Ha to check in, ask how the house was, how the chickens were doing, whether she slept well. Those short calls were the only thing that kept Hoai Ca at ease while living away from home. But this morning, she dialed the familiar number and pressed the phone to her ear. The ringing tone sounded. Once, twice, then 3 times. No one picked up. Hoai Ca frowned and murmured to herself. Maybe she's out in the garden. She tried calling again. The ringing lasted even longer this time. Still no answer. A cold shiver crawled down her spine. She swallowed hard, her hands starting to tremble. Hoai Ca tried to calm herself, but her heart grew more and more unsettled. This can't be right, she always wakes up early. She took a deep breath and dialed a 3rd time. But this time, the screen displayed a message that made her heart stop. The number you're calling is currently unreachable. It wasn't that she didn't answer. The phone was completely out of service. Hoai Ca's chest tightened as if an invisible hand had clamped around her heart. A wave of dread surged so fast she had to sit down, pressing her hand to her chest to steady her breathing. Tony sat beside her, not understanding what was happening, but even his eyes began to fill with worry. Hoai Ca gripped her phone tightly, lips turning pale. Her hands shook as she dialed Hung's number, each digit feeling unbearably heavy. The moment the call connected, she heard his voice. "I'm here, Hoai Ca." "What's wrong?" She couldn't hold it in anymore, her voice cracked. "Hung. I've been trying to call Mom all morning, 3 times already, and now her phone is off." Her throat tightened painfully. "I'm really scared. She's old, what if something happened to her?" On the other end, Hung felt a chill run through his whole body. His voice dropped low, sharp with tension. "Listen to me carefully." He tried to stay calm, but his breath had already grown heavy. "You stay where you are and take care of Tony. Do not go back on your own. I'm heading home right now." Before Hoai Ca could respond, Hung hung up. And then he ran, fast, like a gust of wind. The moment his shift ended, Hung didn't even stop for a sip of water or greet anyone. He sprinted straight toward the parking lot, his feet moving so fast it felt like they barely touched the ground. The key turned, the engine roared to life, echoing across the yard. Hung shot forward like an arrow released from a bow. The mountain road twisted sharply, the wind whipping against his face like razor blades, but he didn't slow down. His heart pounded, not from the speed, but from the fear tightening inside him with every passing second. Only one thought kept repeating in his mind. "Please, don't let anything happen to her, please." His hands gripped the handlebars so tightly his knuckles turned white. Every curve he cut through sent another stab of panic through his chest, making his breath grow heavier and his nerves coil tighter. The second he slid into the yard, he didn't even bother turning off the engine. He jumped off the bike and ran. The front door was wide open, no, forced open, as if someone had kicked it violently. What he saw next made Hung freeze, his heart dropping straight to the pit of his stomach. Furniture was scattered all over the floor. The wooden cabinet had been pried open, its door twisted out of shape. Pots and pans lay overturned across the floor, rolled all the way into the corner of the kitchen. A wooden chair was flipped over like it had been kicked hard. The air inside reeked of dust, chaos, and raw destruction. But what nearly brought Hung to his knees was the sight in the corner of the room. Mother Ha lay motionless. Her arms and legs were tied tightly with rope. Her mouth was still sealed with tape, the skin around it swollen and red. Her face was pale, ashen, drained of every trace of life. Hung's scream tore out of him, hoarse and desperate. "Me!" A cry soaked in panic and terror. He rushed to her side, his hands shaking uncontrollably as he ripped the tape from her mouth. The strip came off with a harsh snap, revealing her cracked, purple lips. Hung reached behind her, undoing the knots, freeing her wrists one loop at a time. The rope had dug deep into her skin, leaving painful bruises. He lifted her into his arms, holding her tight. Her body was ice cold, like a stone left out in winter. So light, far too light, from exhaustion. Her pulse was so faint he had to press his ear close just to feel it. Her breathing was thin as a thread, if it weakened even a little more, she might not make it. Hung swallowed hard, forcing himself not to fall apart as his entire body trembled. "Stay with me, Mom, please. I'm taking you to the hospital now, you have to hold on." Without wasting a single second, he carried her on his back. Every step felt like he was sliding across the ground. He ran to the bike, opened the door, laid her inside, and slammed it shut. The engine roared again, tires throwing gravel into the air. Hung sped toward the district hospital like a madman, with only one thought left in his heart. He had to save his mother, no matter what it took. The moment the doctor saw Hung carrying Mother Ha into the emergency ward, his expression changed instantly. He shouted sharply, loud enough to startle the entire team. "Stretcher! Emergency prep now!" Within seconds, 3 or 4 nurses rushed over. One helped lift Mother Ha off Hung's back, another pulled the stretcher close, one checked her pulse, another quickly placed an oxygen mask and connected the tube. The atmosphere inside the emergency room became chaotic, but in the most urgent, coordinated way. The stretcher wheels clattered rapidly across the floor, the doctor issued orders one after another, and the heart monitor began beeping continuously. Hung only caught a glimpse of his mother's pale face before the emergency room door slammed shut, cutting him off from everything inside. The heavy thud of the door felt like a punch straight to his chest. For a moment, he stood frozen. Then he stepped back, leaning against the cold wall of the hallway. His hands clenched so tightly the knuckles turned white, the veins on his wrists standing out sharply. His whole body was wound tight like a stretched string, just one touch, and it would snap. The hospital hallway was brightly lit, but to Hung, everything felt dark. Footsteps, distant machine beeps, doctors passing by, all of it blended into a heavy, suffocating hum. Nobody knew what was going on in his mind except fear. Suddenly, his phone vibrated violently in his pocket. He jolted, pulled it out, and saw the familiar name, Hoai Ca. Hung took a deep breath, trying to steady his voice before answering. His voice came out hoarse, his breathing still unsteady. "Hoai Ca, they tied her up, she was unconscious all night. The doctors are working on her now. Don't worry. Just take care of Tony. Let me handle things here." There was silence on the other end. Hung could hear the soft, choked sounds of her trying not to cry. Then her voice broke through, shaking, fragmented. "Hung, please, please hold her hand for me. I'm so scared. I'm scared she won't make it." He didn't need to see her to know she was crying, trying to hide it so Tony wouldn't notice. Hung closed his eyes, gripping the phone so tightly his hand trembled. He wanted to reassure her, but he himself was fighting not to collapse. Right then, the emergency room door burst open with a loud bang that echoed down the hallway. The hinge slamming against the wall made Hung's heart leap painfully. A doctor stepped out, pulling down his mask. His face wasn't angry, but the seriousness in his expression thickened the air around him. Hung rushed forward immediately, clinging to the last thread of hope. His voice cracked, raw and trembling. "Doctor, my mother. Is she going to make it?" The entire hallway seemed to hold its breath. The air tightened, heavy, suffocating. And the answer was still hanging in the air, waiting to be revealed. Stay tuned for the next episode, coming tomorrow. And don't forget to leave a comment to support the story.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người. Bây giờ thì mình vẫn đang làm video. Chỗ của mình thì hôm nay mưa và khá là lạnh. Ở khu vực miền Trung Tây Nguyên thì mấy bữa nay đang chịu ảnh hưởng của áp thấp nhiệt đới á mọi người. Nên là trời mưa khá là nhiều. Mình vẫn đang làm nội dung cho video của Hoai Ca. Chưa biết là nên làm dài hay ngắn. chưa biết là mình đang tính làm video khoảng cỡ 20 phút thôi mọi người. Tại vì nếu như mình làm video dài quá mình cũng thấy nó hơi bị nội dung nó hơi bị nhiều quá. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ bắt đầu làm video nha mọi người. Hãy đón xem video trên kênh mình nha. Tạm biệt mọi người.